In the so-called pro-black man, there is this theme of glorifying the so-called black woman. And I've always just asked myself, where is the black female equivalent of this praise and jubilation towards black men? To me, it's very hard to find. And in reality, in the real world, I've always struggled to see black women in my environment, quote unquote, uplift black men. As in, hail black men as kings and wanting to be submissive towards them. It's always been an uphill struggle for black men to achieve this. And we can see this in the complaints from many black men in the so-called manosphere or the black manosphere. For almost a decade now, it's been complaints upon complaints about black females and the typical negative stereotypes. But before all that, welcome to Black Air Max Energy. Here we discuss black issues. If that's your thing, I recommend you subscribe and like for more videos. So when I think of this topic, the image that comes to my mind is always going back to John Boyega. John Boyega, the famous black British actor who starred in films such as Attack the Block, Star Wars, and so many others. You know, a good talent. But here in this image, he is out in a protest. And to be honest, I can't remember what this protest was about, but I assume it was about probably a black man being killed or some sort of injustice done towards him. But then he went on this monologue, or rather this diatribe, where he's basically shaming black men and telling them that we, quote unquote, I paraphrase, that we need to love our women. And he says this while he's in an emotional state, bawling, passionate, right? Side note, I never take seriously the emotional outpouring from actors. These people are professionals at faking emotions. You know, a lot of these actors that I've met, they come across as very, very fake, probably bipolar, right? But that's besides the point. The sort of gesture that John posed is seen in so many men, and these men typically chastise other black men, shaming them into the glorification of black women. You know, if you date women from other cultures, other ethnicities, shame on you. There is a funny meme about that as well, which I might display up on the screen. But then again, my mind goes to where is the polar opposite of this in black women? Where is the shame towards the black women by black women who date outside the so-called race? Whenever I see this happening, people like Serena Williams, for example, I always see black women uplifting her. Like, you go, girl, you know? There is never any aspect or element of shaming or disgruntlement. It's always been very one-sided like that. And this is a discrepancy that I find very alarming. And what alarms me is the so-called pro-black men who fall in line to this manipulation and maintain this belief that, you know, the black woman is queen and needs to be uplifted, while never ever thinking or requesting for the same love back. Many of these pro-black men, I don't know if you want to call Hebrew Israelites pro-black, but many of these types of men who are very heavily invested into their ethnicity and, you know, just the sort of maintaining pride in their tribe. Many of these men that I've met are always baby daddies, you know, and it's alarming. These types of men are always in situations where they have a split family. They are weekend fathers. They do not live with their children. I believe Dr. Umar has the same situation, and he's just as outspoken towards his black queens. But it is his black queens who have embarrassed him on the internet and who have put him in a situation that details to me that they don't respect this man. And it's such a crazy, crazy mindset. You have to really diagnose this mindset. What is this mindset? Uplifting something or someone that doesn't care about you. Very strange. You know, and my observation is that many of these pro-black men are single as F. And in their disgruntlement, when they see other black men who receive respectful treatment from other groups of women, and they copulate with those women, there is a lot of hatred towards these black men. And I really don't know if this is just an intelligence issue, you know, because, and just a side note, on this channel, we're going to keep it raw and funky, okay? This is going to be, it can be extreme in language. This is a no holds barred channel. I'm just going to call it as I see it. There's not going to be any niceties, and that's just how it's going to be over here. So if you're sensitive, you might not want to subscribe and watch these videos, okay? But I am a man with common sense, with good intelligence, with experience in the world, and I know what I'm talking about based on those attributes. Why are these pro-black men single or been baby fathered? Why are these pro-black men often competing to see their own kids? Why is there never no instance of a black female uplifting a so-called black king and treating him in a submissive way? Now, some of you might say, well, you know, Bielia, in the Black Lives Matter protest, there's always black women there with placards shouting about some sort of liberation or showing empathy towards someone who might have been unalived by police, for example. But I'll say to that, crocodile tears, I'm afraid. Crocodile tears. Crocodile tears. And what we typically observe is that these women are often just in these protests for the show. You know, these women often do diabolical things like twerk in these heartfelt protests. It's almost like going to a funeral and you decide to twerk all of a sudden. It's really just people just going out having fun. They don't really care. And you know why I know these people don't really care? It's because in the typical hood funeral where a mother loses her son and she's crying her eyes out with so much drama and emotion, when this person was living, this mother was probably the most toxic, the most mentally abusive. I'm pretty sure she beat her kids when they were harmless youths, you know, verbal abuse, talking ish about his father, no financial planning, you know, tricking the money that she gets on herself, right, and making the kids look like bums. This is a very familiar pattern and it resonates in the statistics. A lot of these criminal black men often come from single mother homes. Now, yeah, sure, we can talk about where are the fathers. We can address whether the fathers are bums. Of course, I'm willing to go there with you. I'm not pro anyone, to be honest with you. I'm pro common sense. I'm pro whatever position allows people to grow and be successful and to be better people, especially in the black community. I'm a part of the black community. I can't escape that. So therefore, I play a part in wanting its improvement. By the end of the day, look, every species of mammal on this planet, whether it's the blue whale, the humpback whale, the lion, ness, I'm sure birds do this as well. There is always a selection process, right? The females usually have a group of men that they get to, a group of males that they get to choose from, right? And they're showcasing their prowess. You know, for animals, it's usually showing a physical prowess. You know, thinking of the humpback whales, they are singing. Who has the best vocal cords, as that might illustrate the better stock of whale to breed with, right? So it's been very important for females to choose the right mate. And it's a very important choice because at the end of the day, the next generation are going to be decided based upon that coupling, right? And in an ideal world, if we are always breeding healthier, with better outcomes, the future of humanity will just be better. But when you look at the black community, especially here in the UK, it seems like the better black communities were in the past and the worst of the black community is in the present. In the past, when we actually owned businesses, where we actually had visibility, where you might actually find black people, black Caribbean people at least, that actually owned news agents. Now it's not like that. Now Asians dominate. Maybe one or two restaurants here and there, you might find a black face, but in the petrol stations and the post offices, news agents, no, it's not black people. So we have declined. And so back to the crying mother. Why is it always typically that these types of women chose the wrong type of guy? And I'm not trying to excuse bad fathers and bad guys, okay? I'm definitely not, I assure you. But at the end of the day, again, just like every other female species, women, females have an important decision to make with who they let into their legs. Many kids in the so-called hood who are siblings but look different fathers, and those different fathers had the same type of spirit to get up and just have no empathy for their kids. Probably had no empathy for her, but she still laid up with her, mated with him, and put forth a kid. So it's crocodile tears. Many of our kin are brought into existence without any plan, without any love. But I digress. But this video is really for the pro-black man. And it's really a video that I'm hoping that you actually stop and think about what your, what your priorities are. Many of you pro-black men who might come across this video are single as F. Many of you are below 6 feet. Many of you make an average or below average income. Many of you are just average guys. But your average equivalent in the female is probably not giving you any sort of play. Why is that? Again, back to Dr. Umar, why has he been treated like crap, dragged across the internet by his black queens? I was at least hoping, some sort of, maybe a white female came out and dragged him around. That would make sense. That would actually underpin Uma's perspective and point of view. But instead, it's black women, mother and daughter against the father. So sad. Again, like the video, subscribe if you want to hear more videos like these. Catch you in the next one.